Okay, so welcome. Thank you, Chantal, for joining. Just gonna run you through this. Given there's only you, if you have any questions at any point, just speak.
Okay.
So we'll make it a bit interactive. So the full title of this is How to Master the Art of Letting Go of Any Stressful Thought or Emotion in Minutes and Find Authentic Happiness, Fulfilling Flow, Higher Purpose, and Ecstatic Well-Being. To thrive through adversity in these turbulent times by tapping into the transformative power of 7 ancient spiritual techniques. So it's a bit of a mouthful, but I'm going to unpack all of that for you and just tell you what it's all about. So firstly, just want to guide you through a simple breathing exercise. So if you've been working at a hectic day, it's just about settling, calming your mind, and just creating a nice kind of open space in your mind to receive this information. So just sitting comfortably, your feet shoulder width apart, keep your back reasonably straight, and close your eyes. And just start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in. And just notice how the stomach rises first. It's important you get the sequence right. So you're not breathing into your chest. It's the stomach pushes out, breathing in through the nose. Then the chest rises. You feel a kind of subtle life energy rising up the spine. Take another sip of air in, top. That's the maximum inhale breath. Now just scan your mind and notice any thoughts and emotions going on. Anything at all. Whether it seems to be neutral or negative or even positive. And what you're trying to do here is just let go of all of that. So imagine these thoughts are like clouds just drifting by. There's no power to really obscure the blue sky, which is your true awareness. So just blow them away as you exhale out through the mouth. Just letting it all go. All the stomach into the spine. Imagine those clouds just being blown away and just clear, calm, empty, open, spacious awareness in your mind. And now breathe in again through the nose. Notice how the stomach rises, the chest rises. A subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Okay, and just scan your mind. Maybe there's just clear, calm, empty, spacious awareness. Notice that, but if there's any thoughts, just blow them all away. So exhale. This time, keep your mouth closed, out through the nose. Make a little sighing sound on the back of your throat. Feel that energy that's raised up. It's like a wave of energy rising up, and then it subsides back down like a wave in the ocean. Stomach and chest suck back in gently. Pause at the bottom of the exhale. And then you breathe in again. And just do a few more deep inhales and exhales. Breathing in and out through your nose. Just observe subtle sensations of your breath. Air flowing into your nostrils. Chest and the stomach rise as you inhale. Pause briefly. Just notice that you're getting stiller. Your mind's getting calmer, stiller, quieter. Really no need to think. Just focus all your attention on the breath. So focusing all of your attention on the subtle sensations of the breath flowing into your nostrils and then out of your nostrils. And you might notice the touch of the breath on the tip of your nose and the area between your nose and your upper lip. As you breathe in and you breathe out, it's very subtle, but just tune into the subtlety, subtle sensations of the breath. That brings your mind into the present moment. Okay, and any thoughts that arise, you just notice them casually and you let them go by focusing on your attention on the breath. In this very narrow area in your nostrils and just below the nose, between your nose and your upper lip. Just observing. And with each breath, just sink a bit deeper, going deeper and deeper. With each breath, just lovely, peaceful, calm, relaxed state of mind. Nothing else to go, nothing else to do. Just take a few more deep breaths in and out through the nose. Just have a sense that the breath is breathing you. So there's no conscious effort involved. There's no stressing, straining, or striving involved. You just observe, step back, observe, let it happen to you, through you, and for you. And notice how you're feeling. That calm, peace, happiness just naturally arise through the simple practice of watching your breath. Happiness can alight upon you. Just be quiet for a minute, just watch your breath. There's nothing else to do, nowhere else to go. Just please relax and be still. In the next minute of silence. And so now just gently come back into an awareness of the rest of your body. Noticing what you're feeling and touching. Your hands, the weight of your body, pressing down into the chair, feet touching the ground. Maybe there's a subtle flow of air on your skin, notice that. Just try and stay connected to this nice, deep, slow, rhythmical pattern called diaphragmatic breathing for the rest of the session. Set that intention, so it is said, and so it is done. And then when you're ready, just open your eyes. And just observe how you're feeling compared with, say, 5 minutes ago before we started the exercise. Notice if there's more clarity, it's more light, your mind is calmer, quieter. It's always worth observing the state of mind that you're in after a little meditation, really, that's what that was. so that you start to pay attention to your state of mind and how that's changed. So any
A lot more
feedback? Any
calmer.
feedback on that? How was that?
A lot more calmer, but it's like every time I was breathing in, I've got this like horrible pain. You know, I told you I was sick on Monday.
Mm,
And I keep on saying it's muscular, but I don't believe it's muscular because I mean for physio, you know, for a while. And then, you know, I've had issues with my left hand, and he keeps on just saying it's stress, you know. I've got like pins and needles in my left hand. So I felt a lot more aware of the pain actually
mm,
on this side of my body.
mm,
And maybe because I've just gotten used to the pain. Do you know what I mean? And working through the pain opposed to recognizing it, you know?
mm. Well, a practice like this brings things into awareness. So often, you know, if you become aware of the body, then you'll be aware of pain. But that's not a bad thing because it makes you aware of it. And it's like, okay, well, maybe you need to address this. My sister, I'll just mention this briefly because it's all about healing. So this might help you. She had for the last 3 years, she's had sort of a lot of those kinds of symptoms, like really sore face, sore neck, shoulder, and she recently had an operation, which seems to have sorted it out. Her vertebrae were degenerating, and then it was like pinching the nerve. And she went to a specialist and said, look, no amount of physio, drugs are not going to help. They're just masking the underlying pain. Said it's a structural issue. It took her 3 years to get there through the medical system. So that might be worth looking at. She also had like pins and needles in her arm, numbness, all this kind of stuff. So it's like a trapped or pinched nerve somewhere. That may be the problem. So.
Is she based in South Africa?
Yeah. I'm actually staying in a cottage in her house.
Okay. If you don't mind, could you ask her the doctor she went to, like the name? I wouldn't, because I'm like, I'd rather go to somebody that's, you know, helped somebody opposed to.
By all means. Because it took her a while to find him, and then she said, well, he was actually just very practical and down to earth. And he said, look, this is the situation, and so drugs aren't going to work because she went to another specialist, and he just put her on drugs, which made her feel awful. So she stopped taking it. So I think you need to find doctors who think a little bit differently. It's not just
out of the box, yeah.
Not just give you drugs, and I mean that's not doing anything. It's just kind of masking the symptoms, and they've got all kinds of side effects. So it would be certainly worth, if you've got those kinds of symptoms, it's probably some kind of pinched nerve. And it's worth looking at because it's just going to get worse if it's structural. And you need to address it. No amount of physio or is really going to help. So I'll get the name and number for you.
Thank you so much.
It's worth. Funny enough, the chap I was just speaking to when as you joined the session, it's the same thing. He's got exactly the same symptoms, and he had a chat to my sister, and so he's got an appointment with the guy. So it's kind of interesting how I guess that's how it works. People who need something from you. Yeah, it's like synchronicity. It's like you've got a problem, and then somehow the universe connects with a solution via whoever. So okay, so that was a little taste of I call it breath watching. It's a very simple exercise, but it's very powerful. So just doing that. I don't know if you do any meditation at all. Do you practice meditation? So that's a start. So if you just sit down quietly and do that for 5 minutes, you'll find that it really does help you to relax. Relaxes the body, relaxes the mind, de-stressors, and that's a start to some kind of meditation practice, which I'll talk about more as we go on, because there's a lot of benefits to doing meditation. I'll also share one secret skill. So you might have done some personal growth, you've read various books, there's the seven tips to do this, the 7 habits of highly effective people, blah, 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 blah. Well, I boiled it down to one thing. You really need to learn this one, I'd say, secret, because it's not actually that commonly known, although it's in plain sight. It's like a lot of things that you need to master to allow your life to really work on another level. I call that miraculous. Talk about the 4 life-changing benefits of doing this. I'll talk about the 7 stress-busting techniques to help you to master the 1 essential skill. So these are those ancient techniques based on yogic science, and how you can actually integrate practicing all of this into your daily life to experience these life-changing benefits. And it really does work if you practice. And then we'll have some time for questions. As I said, if you've got any questions along the way, feel free to ask. And then if you'd like to stay at 8:30, sometimes people arrive a bit late, we do a live meditation and discussion session, which is part of the program that I'll talk to you about. So you can stay for that. And if you stay till the end of the session, the masterclass anyway, I don't expect you to stay until the end of the follow-up session. I'll give you all of this. So 10-step letting go process, which I've developed based on some teachings in a book called A Course in Miracles, which you should be familiar with because I've been sending out quotes from it to you via WhatsApp, and a 1-hour recording to guide you through it in a meditation and also explain it. So this process is really powerful if you use it. Okay. So let me just ask you a question, and you don't have to answer this, but just pause and reflect on it briefly. Ask yourself why you're here today.
I think deep down something has to change for me.
Yeah. You're looking for some kind of answer.
Yeah.
And, that may be just you're looking for relief from stress, anxiety, depression, disease. You've got a couple of those. Stress, some disease in the body. So these are the common ones. Better health, which is related to number 1. More wealth, possibly. That's a common reason why people come to presentations like this. Better relationships, better quality of life and lifestyle. Maybe it's all of it, some of it or all of it. But beyond that, what are you really looking for? Ultimately, what are you really looking for? Yeah, just ask yourself.
Freedom.
Yeah. And
Does it sound weird?
There's many words for it. I call it happiness, but it's the same thing. Freedom is a state of happiness. Freedom is a state of mind. So there's many words. You could call it happiness. You could call it freedom. You could call it inner peace. It's a state of mind where you're feeling okay. You're okay with life. You're not sick. You're not unhappy. You're not stressed. Everything's okay. It's kind of flowing. I'll talk about the idea of flow. And the English language has many words to describe states of mind. So I use the word happiness. That's actually the theme of our lessons at the moment in the daily messages I'm sending, if you've read them. So there's many words for it, but it's not really about these other things, is it? It's like those are
that would be a consequence of being happy.
What you're actually looking for is happiness. These things like stress, anxiety, depression, disease, financial scarcity, poor health. These are actually blocks to the awareness of happiness. They seem to block that awareness. So you need to address them. You've got to, but ultimately, what am I really looking for is this underlying state of happiness, which we know is there. We know that there's got to be more than just this, whatever you're experiencing. But the question then is how to find it. Okay, so how do I actually not find it as such? How do I experience this what I call authentic happiness consistently. And there's not many people who actually do that, who are authentically happy most of the time in our society. Our society is largely a fairly unhappy society, and it's set up to service unhappy people and give them apparent solutions to their happiness. So this is another question, why haven't you found lasting happiness yet? Man, just pause and reflect on it. And it's actually because you've been looking in the wrong place. And that's not actually your fault. It's we've been brought up and we've been conditioned to think in our society that we'll be happy when we have better or more of something that's outside of us. That's the programming of our society. And so we're bombarded with images of fit, healthy, young, sexy bodies. Very few people live up to that, but that's what's used to sell multiple different products and services. And so there's an ideal that that's held up, and we sort of think, well, if I have a body like that, or if I get fitter and stronger and healthier and sexier, then I'll somehow be happier. This is the illusion. And actually, a lot of these people aren't particularly happy. Just look at the celebrity magazines. They might have a great body, but often they're not happy because it's not coming from your body. And of course, even if you have a great body, that's very temporary, because at some point you're going to age. Your body's going to age. It's not going to be in that same condition anymore, and you're going to experience the decay of the body, and conditions that then cause people to take medications and so on, and so it's going to change inevitably. So it can't be a reliable source of permanent, authentic happiness, because it is going to age. It's impermanent. Same with the toys of this world. People go, oh, when I get a new car. But if ever you've done this and you bought a fancy new car for yourself, you'll know that it wears off pretty quickly, isn't it? It's like, well, okay, the first few weeks are cool, I'm like, and then it's just like another. Okay, I get into my my car and I drive to work, and it's just an instrument that gets me from A to B. So that doesn't really last. And then people, who are on that track, sometimes they'll buy like 10 of these. If they've got a lot of money, they'll buy, well, I'll buy another one. Okay, well, is that really working? Is that bringing you any kind of happiness? So you're looking in the wrong place. You're never going to find it in a vehicle. You're never going to find it in anything outside of you, because whatever's outside of you is impermanent, and it doesn't last, and it can break down. Cars break down. Cars need insurance. Anything in the material world has this downside. And maybe it's a beautiful home, a lifestyle brings, if I just had that home. And I promise you, there are people who live in homes like this who are utterly miserable, and they really don't like their lives at all. So the home isn't going to do it. It's like, it's your state of mind. If you're happy already and you have a home like this, wow, this is amazing. I can really enjoy this. But often the people who have these kinds of luxury homes and extreme wealth are not, because their track is, well, I'm going to find happiness somewhere outside of me, and that is never going to work. And of course, homes can burn down, and so none of this stuff is permanent. Maybe it's holidays. A lot of people might like, well, I like going on holiday. If that's been the case, the last 18 months they would have struggled a bit, because that's kind of been taken away. But again, it's temporary. So you might go on holiday, and I'm not saying holiday is not a good idea. It's a very good idea to take regular holidays, but it's not like, oh, I'm happy because I'm looking forward to my holiday, and now I'm on holiday, it's amazing, and then now I'm disappointed because my holiday's over. That's not permanent and authentic happiness. Again, it's something external, and of course now when things go wrong and you can't go on holiday anymore, then you suffer. So the more attached you are to these things, the more you suffer when you don't have them. This, by the way, is actually an ancient Buddhist principle. Second noble truth of Buddhism is that desire is the source of all suffering. If you crave or you desire things, you're going to suffer, because those things are not always going to be there, and then you're going to suffer the apparent lack of not having them, because you expect to have them. maybe it's fine dining. Again, nothing wrong with having these experiences, but don't make them a source of your happiness. Enjoy them while they're there, but enjoy whatever's happening now. This is really the underlying teaching. Of course, when special relationships go bad, then it can be the source of great unhappiness, which I think we've all probably experienced at some point in our lives. So this is where you'll never find happiness, and this is what the science shows. This is from a lady called Laurie Santos, the Happiness Lab, based on science. Just shows us that none of these things, the fame, the money, the beach body, that we expect will make us happier, and that many companies are willing to sell us. Oh, when you get this, then you'll be happy. This is the illusion of marketing. But it's just these expectations are absolutely wrong. In fact, today's quote, I don't know if you read it, very pertinent, because it was based on some research done by Harvard University over 80 years now on what really makes us happiness, what really makes us happy. And they found that none of this stuff actually will make you sustainably happy, based on research over that length of time with thousands and thousands of people. What makes us happy is love and connection, the sense of closeness in our relationships and a sense of giving to other people. That's what the research shows. These things really are taking us in the wrong direction entirely. You might have read some of these kinds of books. I certainly have read them, and I'm not saying they're bad, but again, you're not going to find happiness in the book. It's all about application of the ideas and the principles. And so too often it's like, well, I'll read another book, or I'll go to another workshop or another seminar, call them, workshop junkies. And actually, you're not really seeing the wood for the trees, because it's all intellectual, it's theoretical, and it's not actually being applied in your daily life. And I've been to one of these seminars with that's Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins.
Yeah. I don't know if you are familiar with him, but I've actually been to one of those in person in London, and it was exactly like it was like a rock concert. I was like, wow, this is. It was an experience, but I was like, I'm not sure this is really the answer, honestly, because it's like getting it. He knows how to get everyone high, and you're on a high, and everyone says you can see it. And I was like, wow, and he's like doing this thing, as you can see, he's like roaring there, and but okay, so then what happens after the seminar? Now you're sitting back on Monday morning and going, actually, I don't really like my job. I don't really like my life particularly. And you come down from that high. So it needs to be something that's really, it's coming from within. It's not anything external. I mean, I remember when I was at that seminar, I spoke to one of the ladies, and she said, oh no, this is my 7th time. So every year, the lady rolls around into London. It hasn't happened for the last couple of years because of COVID. But he rolls around, and then people book again because they want the high. But it's like, is anything changing in between? Have you really shifted your mindset? Or is it just like, great, I want to go and have a cool experience and get myself on a high for 3 days and then carry on as normal? So I looked at, I've been in this industry for quite a long time, looked at these kinds of things. I'm going, I don't think any of this is particularly working. It's not sustainable. So what can I do to actually create a solution that is not any of these things? So, drugs, it leads to addiction, and there's a lot of pain and suffering in addiction. So that's not any sustainable source of happiness. Maybe psychotherapy. Too often what happens is the patient just becomes addicted to the psychotherapy, and they can go for years talking to a psychotherapist, and nothing much is really shifting. And I'm not saying there aren't good psychotherapists out there. There are. You do find it, but too often, again, it's a business model. Actually, our incentive is not to really heal the patient in 1 or 2 sessions. I want a regular client, so I just want my patient to come back and back, and we talk about the past, and they share their stuff, and then they go away. Nothing much has really changed, and they come back the next week. And all of this stuff requires money. This is all, anything that you're looking for externally requires money, which then requires that you have to to work, in your case, in a corporate job, to earn the money, to try and buy these forms of external happiness. And what A Course in Miracles is saying is that all mental illness is actually some form of external searching. Which is kind of, if you step back and you really look at it, it's wow, okay. So our society is kind of a sick society because everyone is searching externally. And money is a symbol of that. We think we need money to buy the things that are going to give us some kind of happiness and satisfaction. And our whole economic system is set up around that. And the Course is saying this is all a form of mental illness, this external searching. So if you look at what the cause of unhappiness is, that's always we've looked at where you won't find happiness. So what causes unhappiness? And this is really interesting. This is a very interesting quote by a lady called Marisa Peer, who's a hypnotherapist to celebrities. She's UK's kind of leading hypnotherapist. She's worked with the likes of Princess Diana and Amy Winehouse and Hollywood A-listers, these kinds of people. And her observation is this.
They all have died.
Sorry?
They all have died, people that she's worked with.
Yeah, because she said they come to me as damaged people. And what they've done is they haven't felt like they're enough inside of it. So what they do is they say, well, if I make enough money, if I become famous, I become a celebrity, whatever, then I'll be happy. And this is the game they set up for themselves. And that doesn't work because they're not really feeling and believing in their heart of hearts that they're enough. And so they're always looking for more. And then once you've got all of that, so you've actually achieved you're at the top of the hedonic treadmill, I call it. You're at the top of this ladder. And then you're going, but I'm still feeling empty and I'm still not feeling happy. And then there's nowhere really to go. You're like, well, more money is probably not going to do it. Another car is not going to do it. More fans following me on social media is probably not going to do it. And so then they sink into depression and often, addictions and so on, because they don't know really where to turn. And so then they turn to her. And they said, like, well, what do? I've tried everything and it hasn't worked. And all she gets them to do is start to believe in themselves that they are enough as they are, not because of their houses, their cars, their celebrity status, just as they are enough. And she just gets them doing affirmations. So that it's now inside out. It's not anything to do with the external. They have a sense of true self-worth, which then leads to a sense of happiness, and then they can continue doing what they're doing, but they're now much happier. They're not looking for happiness externally. See, this is the problem. Everyone is seeking for it externally, and that's never going to work because it's an inside job.
I think it's like economics, at some point there's diminishing returns. So, that's just that, and then there's no amount of, money that can make you happy. Stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're on that track and you think it's going to, more of the same is not going to work. In fact, that's how addiction develops. It's like whatever you're addicted to, you need more of it. And it doesn't give you, as you say, the law of diminishing marginal returns. It doesn't give you the same hit as the first time. So you go, well, I bought a car and that gave me a thrill a few years ago. So let me buy another one. And then you go, but it didn't kind of work as well. And so it's this continual craving, which, as the Buddha noted 2,500 years ago, is the source of all suffering. Because then you're suffering because you have this expectation, you have all these expectations of life. And then you feel that these are not going to be met. And so now you have this, the flip side of the coin of expectation is a grievance and a fear that you won't get what you want. So all stress is the perception of some form of external threat. This is Deepak Chopra. All stress, it's quite an interesting statement. All stress is just the perception of some kind of external threat. And that might be completely in your mind. Oh, I think I'm not going to get what I want. So you've set up an expectation of something external, and then you go, well, what happens if I don't get that? Now I'm going to be unhappy because of that. And now you fear it. And stress is just a form of fear. And it's all related to this external. So if you set yourself up for desire, and you're continuously desiring things externally, then you're also going to fear. That's the flip side of it, which is why the Buddha noted that desire is a source of all suffering. So let's look at what is the key to happiness then? So again, looking to A Course in Miracles, mental health is inner peace. So mental illness is looking outside of you, some form of external searching. By contrast, mental health is inner peace. It enables you to remain unshaken by lack of love from without and capable through your own miracles of correcting the external conditions which proceed from lack of love in others. Which again speaks to that research that I mentioned in the quote today of really what the research shows is that love is what makes us happy. And lack of love makes us unhappy. So our job becomes to correct our lack of love and find love again and find a sense of inner peace. And that's the very, very simple truth, a very simple foundation of happiness. So here's another great quote on happiness. It's not a goal in itself. It's rather, it's like a butterfly, which when pursued is always just beyond your grasp. So that's the hedonic treadmill. You're always looking for happiness. It's always out there, and it's always just beyond your grasp. You're never actually satisfied, and you'll never find it. But which, if you will sit down quietly, may come and alight on you. And that sitting down quietly is called various things, but commonly it's known as meditation. If you just sit quietly, you do a simple practice like we did, you might have felt some kind of sense of freedom, of lightness. You can call that happiness, you can call it inner peace. It doesn't really matter what names you give it. There's a feeling that's arising, isn't it? Did you experience some of that?
Yeah, I felt calm.
So just by sitting quietly, there's a calmness that comes, and it may come and alight on you. So you don't have to seek it because it's already there. You just have to quiet your mind. So it's a very different philosophy of happiness, which is in alignment with all the great spiritual teachings. So this is a scene from The Matrix. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but you might recognize the scene that was in the Oracle's room. So Neo is the main character. It's the back of his head. Goes to see her, and she's kind of going to give him some guidance. And she points to the sign and says, "You know what that means?" And he doesn't. It means know thyself in Latin, which is really the ancient injunction of all the great spiritual teachings and teachers. You know thyself. If you can know yourself, and that's an inside job, then you can find happiness. You will never find it on the external, because you'll never find yourself externally. There's a great line just on his way to see the Oracle. He says, well, what does that mean? I'm looking at the external world. I'm realizing that none of this really happened. And Trinity says, it means that the Matrix cannot tell you who you are. So nothing external can tell you who you really are. That's the ancient spiritual truth, which is put quite well by this chap by the name of Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who is a professor of psychology, and he's the author of many books on this idea of flow. In fact, he coined this concept. It's actually a very old idea. It goes back to the Chinese Tao Te Ching and the Taoist philosophy, which is 2,500 years old. And he just put it into sort of a modern psychological context and called it flow. It says to know oneself is the first step toward making flow a part of one's entire life. But just as there is no free lunch in the material economy, nothing comes free in the psychic one. If one is not willing to invest psychic energy in the internal reality of consciousness and instead squanders it in chasing external rewards, one loses mastery of one's life and ends up becoming a puppet of circumstances. So he's saying exactly this. We squander our psychic energy in chasing these external rewards, and we lose mastery of our life, and we end up becoming a puppet or victim of circumstances, which is not a powerful state of mind to be in. And of course, then if the external circumstances turn nasty, as they have worldwide over the last 2 years, then your life is very unhappy because you're relying on the externals to make you happy. So this quote summarizes it quite well. So what are we to do about this? Well, this guy says it in a word. Your happiness often relies on just one character trait, and that's self-discipline. And you might say, well, what the self-discipline to do what? Well, in a nutshell, it's to let go of any negative thought / emotion. So I hyphenate it because the thought leads to an emotion then leads to thought, and often it's very difficult to distinguish between the two. Well, what's an emotion and what's a thought? It's some movement of your mind going on. So I just call that a thought emotion. It's to let go of any negative thought or emotion when it arises. So you can experience, and these are the benefits. So that by the way is the one essential skill that I promised to teach. It's this skill of being able to let go of any negative thought emotion when it arises. In all of my studying, learning, teaching, reading, this is what it's come down to. I've been doing this a long time, since I was 12 years old. Actually, I've been reading books, personal growth, and at the age of 30, I got more into spirituality. And at the end of all of that, you realize there's one simple skill. If you can let go of negativity as it arises, if you can become aware of it and you can let it go, then you can experience some pretty extraordinary benefits. So the first one is authentic happiness. The principles behind this, well, that firstly, happiness or unhappiness is always experienced in your own mind. I think we kind of know that intuitively, but not many people have actually accepted that. It's not really about anything outside of me. It's how I experience everything. So something might happen, but my happiness or my unhappiness is a result of my perception of it. So only my own negative thoughts and feelings about anyone or anything can make me unhappy. This is the second fundamental truth. Because those two things are true, you might dispute them, but it's very difficult if you're honest with yourself to dispute them, because you can see from your own experience, happiness is an inside job. It's about how I'm thinking and how I'm feeling. No one is making me unhappy. It's how I choose to interpret things. Therefore, learning how to let go of your negative thoughts and emotions must be the key to your happiness. Because if that negativity, that's really just a result of your response to seeming external circumstances and events, if that's arising, then letting go of that negativity just opens the way to happiness again. That's the block to happiness. So let go of the block. If there's no more block, then happiness is your natural state. So that's key benefit number one of learning this one essential skill of letting go of negativity. The second benefit is what I call flow, fulfilling flow. So that's being able to let go of negative thoughts and emotions very quickly. So as you notice them, you're able to drop them, you find that underlying state of happiness. And then the idea of flow is really that you're not just sitting, you're actually active. You're acting, you're in the world, you're doing things, but you remain calm, you remain poised, and you're able to enjoy each moment because there's this underlying happiness, and you just carry that happiness with you into everything that you're doing. So again, inside out, the happiness is there. You carry that with you. You extend it into whatever you're doing. You're not relying on any person or situation, anything external to make you happy. You bring it with you into wherever you go. You bring your happiness with you, and that leads to pretty positive, effective action to respond to any situation appropriately. So from that state of calm and poise and the state of enjoyment, you're in joy, there's a lot of positive action and very effective action that can come, which then gives you outcomes that we can call miraculous, because you're in a different state of mind. You're in what Jesus calls a miracle-minded state in A Course in Miracles. Let's just take another look at flow quickly. So it's when we act freely for the sake of the action itself, rather than for ulterior motives, that we learn to become more than what we were. So the idea is, it's not about a vested interest. You don't have an agenda. You're not doing something to achieve a goal, completely contrary to the idea of goal setting. It's saying, do this freely because you enjoy the action. So, as an example, there's a man playing with his daughter. He's not doing it because he wants to achieve any goal. He's doing it because it's fun in the moment. That's the idea of flow. So whatever you're doing it for the sake of the action itself, and the effect of it, the results of it, is secondary. If you invert that and you make the outcome primary, it creates a lot of undesirable thoughts and emotions. So the desire I talked about, the attachment, the expectations, fear that you won't get what you think you want. This is how the mind works, and then we're not happy, and we're certainly not in flow. And then number 3 is the key to higher purpose and ecstatic well-being, which are kind of bundled together because they do kind of go together. So the flow of this starts with authentic happiness, then you experience flow in every aspect of your life. And if you have those as your foundations in life, you will be healthy, you will find meaning in the daily ordinary experiences. I call it extraordinary ordinary. So it's not like you have to do anything extraordinary. You carry on with your life, and even extraordinary people. They most of the time they lead pretty ordinary lives. Even if you're a multi-millionaire celebrity, what are you doing? You get up every day, you have a shower, you maybe check some emails, you make some calls, do a bit of work, you have lunch. It's not. That's what life is made up of. But it can be extraordinary, ordinary, if you're doing it in a state of underlying happiness and flow. And that tends to lead to miraculous experiences and results. So that doesn't necessarily mean like some phenomenal miracle, someone walking on water or raising the dead. It just means, like, for instance, tonight you show up and then we have a chat, and it's like, well, maybe I can help you solve your back trouble, because my sister happened to have the same thing, and so these kinds of things, which are extraordinary, ordinary, to help you and bless you and others as well. So those are key benefits 3 and 4. So to summarize, four keys to an extraordinary ordinary life. Firstly, the key to authentic happiness, how to let go of any negative thoughts or emotions, no matter how challenging the situation, provoking them seems to be. Then the key to fulfilling flow, how to remain poised, enjoy the moment while taking positive, effective action to respond to any situation appropriately. And then benefits 3 and 4, key to higher purpose and ecstatic well-being, is how to be happy and in flow in every aspect of your life. So it's universal, not just one aspect, saying, well, I need to be in flow at work. It's in your social life, your private life, your relationships. It needs to be all-encompassing, and live a healthy, meaningful, extraordinary, ordinary life filled with miraculous experiences and results. And I think, if you agree, if you could do all of that, that's a pretty amazing life. Not many people who live in a happy state most of the time, in flow. They're able to be calm and poised in every aspect of their life. They're truly healthy. They live a meaningful life. They have these extraordinary, ordinary synchronicities or miracles happening all the time. That's my definition of success. If you're living in that domain of the miraculous, I call it, that's a pretty successful life. And the results just come of themselves if you're in that state of mind. So to come back to this one essential skill, the critical skill, can you see why letting go is this one essential skill? Because it starts with that. If you can let go of negativity, then you can find authentic happiness. If you've got all these blocks going on in your mind, then there's no happiness. You don't find happiness, then you don't find flow, which is a source of all fulfillment. And flow leads to a sense of fulfillment, higher purpose. So your higher purpose is to be happy now and be in flow now. There's nothing that needs to happen in the future. It's what's happening moment by moment. And you can really have a sense of ecstatic well-being. You can really feel well and healthy and on fire with life. It is possible. But if you can't let go, then you can't be happy. It's as simple as that. Your negativity's got you, and you're just dwelling on your negative thoughts and emotions. So happiness is denied. If you're not happy as your underlying state, you're not going to find fulfilling flow. And if there's no flow, then where's the source of your fulfillment or any sense of higher purpose or any well-being? You're just kind of grinding your way through life and saying, well, the best that the ego can offer you is some kind of future salvation. It says, well, work really hard and make more money and acquire something new, and then you'll be happy, which of course doesn't work. So the question then is, how can I learn? How can you learn to let go and find your flow? Which really is the critical thing. So how do you do this? The principles are one thing, but how do I actually let go in my own life and find my flow? So learning new information is often necessary, but it's not a sufficient step for a true transformation of mind to happen. Why is that? Well, let's look first of all at the two ways to true transformation. First way is through intense pain and suffering. You're forced to go within and you break through suddenly to a new level of understanding and wisdom. I call this the way of the cross. So that can work. It's been done by many people. I don't know if you're familiar with Eckhart Tolle. You might have heard of it or read his book, The Power of Now. So this is how he woke up. He went through a lot of anxiety, a lot of emotional pain for the first 29 years of his life. He wasn't a happy guy. And he became suicidally depressed to the point where at 29, he was just like, I can't stand my life anymore. One night he's lying in bed, he says, I can't stand myself anymore. This is the thought. And because he was in so much pain, it's almost like that split his mind. And he realized, he just had the sudden awareness that I am not this pain. I am not the self that is suffering. And he said, I can't really even explain intellectually how that worked, but he just sort of got it. And the energy was so intense that he just passed out. And then he woke up the next morning. It was like, wow, what's just happened? It's like all of that ego just dropped and he just felt light and clear and calm and peaceful. And he went out. He was in London at the time. So he went out and he's walking around the city and he's like, everything's just so peaceful and calm. And he started to realize, well, something really profound has happened. There's been a shift. And that just happened overnight for him. But it took 29 years of pain and suffering for him to get there. So that's not a reliable way of doing it. You can't, okay, well, I'll just suffer until eventually I awaken. So a much better way is the second way of true transformation, which is through conscious, disciplined practice of spiritual ideas and techniques. You systematically grow in understanding and wisdom. So this is what I call the way of mastery. And there are many systems that have been developed over the centuries for this. Yoga is one of them, Tai Chi, meditation, breath work, these kinds of things. They're very ancient techniques because people for thousands of years have had the same problem. Every society, people are like, well, I'm not really happy. So what can I do to make myself happy? And these spiritual techniques, the principles, but the techniques are really what inculcate it. The reason why Buddhism, for instance, was so successful and it took on was because the Buddha taught people a technique. He taught them a meditation technique. He said, this isn't about dogma. He said, I'm going to teach you this technique. Do this every day. And if you do the technique, you will find that the principles that I'm teaching are true, but not because I've taught them to you and you just believe them blindly. It's because you experience them in your own mind. So again, it's a very ancient path. It's been around thousands of years. In practicality, you're probably doing a combination of these, because the way of the cross, through some pain and suffering, what's brought you? Some pain and suffering. Honestly, that's what brings us to the point of like, okay, I need a change. And then it's like, okay, but I don't have to carry on suffering and not doing anything about it. I can do this conscious discipline practice of spiritual ideas and techniques to help me out of my suffering. So actually, there's usually a combination going on in most people's lives. But let's look at the principles of transformation through mastery. Firstly, it's understanding and realization through your personal experience. This is not something that anyone can say, this is it, here's the dogma, believe it. It's not that at all. It's your own personal experience, which then requires your active willingness and your disciplined effort. You're not going to get those personal experiences unless you put some time and some effort into doing these spiritual practices. Now, that might sound like hard work. It's not actually. Meditation is very pleasurable, but it does take a little bit of discipline to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to do this. And this is a good use of my time. If you never do it, then you don't get the benefit. You never get the personal experience. So doing these key spiritual practices, which I'll talk about now, is essential, because that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where you get the experience arising, a different experience arising in your mind. And it can be greatly facilitated by another person or group who help to raise use alchemical language here, the initiate's consciousness. If you're doing this and you are on some kind of program, spiritual training, then you are an initiate. You're on a path of transformation. And this happens by transmitting positive energy in the group. So a facilitator or guide or teacher like myself can do that, and the group can do it. If you're in a group of like-minded people and they're all feeling positive, then we know we tend to, that rubs off on us. And there's also a sense of accountability. So because there's a program, because there's a facilitator, a teacher, because there's a group, you tend to pay a bit more attention than if you were just doing this all on your own. It tends to be like, oh, well, I'd like to join the group session, and there's going to be other people there, and so it kind of pulls you into this field of positive energy, which happens remotely. You don't have to be near the people. The beauty of these technologies we now have, like Zoom, is that this all happens. It happens remotely, and because it's an energy transmission that's happening on another level. It's not about the limitations of time and space. And then there's this immersion in these key spiritual practices and a positive field of consciousness, which greatly accelerate this transformation. So if you immerse yourself into it, this all gets accelerated. So there's 7 key spiritual practices to help you let go of negativity. Number 1 is breathwork techniques. So I don't know, are you familiar with yoga at all, Chantal?
No.
Okay. So there are these 8 limbs of yoga. So if you go and you do yoga in a studio, you've probably heard of it. Most people are like, well, yoga is about asana, that's the postures. But actually it's about much more. There's the posture. So just by sitting comfortably, you're in a posture. You did a bit of that at the beginning. And then the pranayama is breath work. That means breath control in Sanskrit. So just by consciously breathing, focusing attention on the breath, that's pranayama. Pratyahara is withdrawing the senses. So just by closing your eyes, focusing on the breath, you're withdrawing the senses from the world. So you've already done that. You did asana, you did pranayama, you did pratyahara as part of that little breathing exercise we did earlier. Then what I call multi-dimensional meditation. So that's incorporating the asana, pranayama, and pratyahara and breathing, but you go into this deeper state of dharana, which is focused concentration. So did you find your mind wandering when you're doing that? Did your mind kind of go and get distracted by anything? Maybe it was the pain in your back. Maybe it was something happening in your day, the past or the future. So the idea of meditation is to focus your mind on one thing. So again, you started just watching the breath and observing just the breath in your nostrils. That's an example of dharana. It's focused concentration, which if you keep doing that for a lengthy period of time will lead you into a deep contemplative state of meditation, which is called dhyana, where you actually go very deeply into your mind. It's a very peaceful place. It's very calming. That is kind of a deep, we call it deeper form of meditation. And I call it multidimensional because you're using all these different techniques. You're using breathing, using touch, using toning, using visualization. I've developed a style of meditation that uses all of those as a way of entraining your mind into something other than its thoughts. So by focusing on your breath, for instance, by focusing on a visualization and just color, by focusing on the sound of your own voice, toning, these things start to entrain the mind into the single pointed focus. And because we all work slightly differently, some people are more visual, some people are more kinesthetic, more feeling oriented, some people are more auditory. You need the multidimensional aspect is that, well, there's something for everyone. And you focus on whatever's working for you in the meditation. The third aspect of the third key spiritual practice is forgiveness or letting go. So that I call, that's the foundational principles of yoga, which are yama, niyama. So these are the things like don't steal, don't cheat, don't lie, observances and abstentions. Really, that's yama, niyama. So foundations, it's very difficult to say when you're going to attain spiritual enlightenment. If you're lying, you're cheating, you're stealing, you're taking drugs, you need some solid foundations in place. So that's what yama and niyama are about. And then pratyahara is about this idea of letting go. So you actually start withdrawing the senses and you let go of your attachment to things in this world. It's known in the Eastern teachings as detachment or non-attachment. It's the same thing. Forgiveness or letting go of your attachment. Then we do these group discussion sessions, group meditations and discussion sessions regularly. So every day, twice a day, there's a session which you can join. Now, no one joins everyone except me, but they're available. So you can join, you can connect with like-minded people, and we do some meditation, we do some reading of text, we discuss it. So it's study. It's like a study group, and except that you're not reading it yourself. You're reading it in a group. And the beauty of this technology is it facilitates that beautifully. So you don't have to leave your home or your office. You can do it from wherever. It's going to take you a few seconds to log in and log out. That's it. So it makes it very, very accessible. And then also this reading and listening to spiritual texts. So the spiritual text that I've chosen is A Course in Miracles. So I believe it's the most advanced teaching on the planet. I haven't found anything better. But it's in alignment with a lot of other teachings. It just takes it to another level of explanation. Number 6, the 6th key spiritual practice is fasting or abstinence. So that may mean that you eat less. That's one way of doing it. But it means abstaining from things that aren't good for you. So if you've got any bad habits, smoking, drinking too much, eating too much, shopping, sexual addiction, any kind of addiction, it's attaching your mind into a lower state of consciousness, into the ego. So by actually abstaining from it and saying, look, I'm not going to do this, it's part of the spiritual practice of letting go. Again, very difficult if you're an alcoholic or drug addict or something to attain any of these higher spiritual states, because your mind keeps getting drawn down to that lower base level of physical need and attachment. Oh, I need the substance. I need this, and so now I'm in craving, and I'm in the fear that I won't have what I think I need, and there's no true happiness. And then an end of day reflection, which is a form of meditation, but it's really a good way just to end the day and reflect on whatever you experience and try and learn from it. And that again involves asana, pranayama. You do some breathing, withdrawing the senses, dharana, focus concentration on this process of reflection. So this has got the reason I've showed you that, that this has got yogic underpinnings is because this is a very, very ancient science. Yoga's been around for many thousands of years. It was a formalized a couple of thousand years ago by a guy called Patanjali who wrote it down, but these practices have been going for a lot longer than that. It's probably the most ancient spiritual practice and teaching, and most ancient system of personal growth or transformation, if you want to look at it that way. And I draw on all of that. So, the reason it's lasted for so long is because it works. So there you've got there's 7 limbs of yoga. And then the 8th one is this state of enlightenment, or what they call samadhi, which is where you just live in a very happy, peaceful, flowing way, and nothing really phases you. You're unshakable. That is the enlightened state that all of this mind training, all these key spiritual practices are leading you to. And that has been attained by people in history, people like Jesus and Buddha, many other spiritual masters. They've demonstrated this is possible. You can actually live in a very unworried, carefree, happy way, and not take on board all the dark thoughts and emotions of the ego, just to let all those go. So we'll talk a little bit about the Art of Letting Go program now. Just give you a quick overview. So it's a 1-year program. It's a facilitated 1-year mind and life transformation process. It's based on the way of mastery. It's based on yoga and immersion learning. It incorporates 7 key spiritual practices and the 7 limbs of yoga. And these key spiritual practices include live and recorded daily online meditations and discussion sessions, transformational exercises. I give you some recordings, so you can do solo meditation and breath work as well, and studying of this great book called The Course in Miracles, which I'll talk a little bit more about now. I just went back, not forward. So the goal is to help you to learn to let go of fearful, stressful thoughts and emotions whenever they arise. So you can start consistently experiencing all of the benefits. So let me just talk a little bit about A Course in Miracles for you, because you may not be familiar with it. So it's a book. Here's the actual. It's a text of about 670 pages. It explains in detail the principles and philosophy on which the course is based. So that's the theory. There's a 488-page workbook, which is made up of 365 daily lessons. So the lessons, the mind training lessons that I send out in the WhatsApp messages, those are taken from A Course in Miracles. So it's very practical, systematic mind training to train you how to let go of your negativity and allow you to live in what the Course calls a miraculous state of mind. Another word for that is flow. You're living in a happy, peaceful, calm, poised way. You can deal with things much more effectively in that way. So it's actually a very practical state of mind, being in flow. This isn't about withdrawing completely from the world. It's just saying you're just going to change your mind about the world. That's what this course is designed to do. And there's a manual for teachers, which is 92 pages. So the majority of it is the text and the workbook. As you can see, there's a lot of material to cover, and it's quite daunting to take on your own. It's a tome, and the language isn't vernacular slang language. It's quite high English. So most people look for some kind of guidance. If they're going to study the course, they look for some kind of guidance or facilitation to help them. And this is a program that is based on the course that can do that. So how did it arise, you might ask? Well, it was transmitted. You might have heard of channeling, but it wasn't really channeled. It was more like Jesus, who identified himself as such, said to started speaking to this lady called Helen Schuckman, who was a professor of psychology in New York in 1965. And how it came about was the two of them were looking for a change. They weren't very happy in their personal lives. There was a lot of interpersonal conflict in their department. It was a prestigious academic setting as part of Columbia University in New York City. And one day, her and her boss, the head of the department, were driving to a disciplinary hearing, yet another one. And he just turned to her and said, there's got to be a better way than this. Like, why is there so much conflict and so much hatred? And we're not really happy, and sort of vented for a couple of minutes. And then she said, yeah, well, I hear you and I agree. There must be a better way. And I don't know what it is, but I'll help you find it. And so that kicked off this process. She started having vivid dreams for a few months. And then a few months later, this voice spoke to her and said, this is a Course in Miracles. Please take notes. She's like, whoa, what's going on here? Am I hallucinating? Am I going mad? So she phones Bill, her boss, and he says, well, write it down. It's saying take notes, write it down, see what it says, bring in your notes in the morning, and we'll take a look. And if it's gibberish, then we'll take action accordingly. But it wasn't. What she brought in was profound stuff. And he's like, well, just no disrespect, Alan, but this is not from you. She says, I know it's not from me. This is a voice speaking to me. It's dictating. And so began the dictation of this amazing work called A Course in Miracles, which took 7 years. She wrote everything down. Her colleague Bill Thetford typed it up, and got published a few years later in 1976 as a book, originally in 3 volumes, but now it's been consolidated into one called A Course in Miracles. So it's a systematic mind training course. That's why it's called a course, to teach you a radically different way of thinking about and perceiving everything from a non-dual perspective. So what does that mean?
Still, yeah.
Oh yeah, you're just stopping the video.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to...
I think there's just a internet issue. I don't know why.
That's fine. So non-dual means that non-dual literally means not two. So there's not two things going on. If you look at life, there seems to be a split in everything. There's opposites. There's good and evil. There's light and dark. There's up and down. Vaccines, not vaccines. There's always in this world there's duality. That seems to characterize our human experience, isn't it? So the idea of a non-dual perspective is that beyond this duality, there is one mind, there is one consciousness, there is oneness. You can call that anything you want. You can call it love, you can call it peace, you can call it the ground of being. But there's something that's beyond duality. So this is the non-dual perspective. Whatever you see, if you come at it from a non-dual perspective, you see it differently. You change your perception of it. So what this course is designed to teach you is how to forgive. That's the course's language, or I prefer the term let go. How to let go of every false and therefore a negative belief, thought, and emotion that causes you and others to suffer. That's really the intention of it. Because every false or negative belief, thought, and emotion is going to cause you and others to suffer. And so your job is to recognize what's false and what's true and be able to let go of the false. Simply don't believe it. Don't give it any headspace. And that is where freedom comes. Freedom comes from letting go of the false and accepting only the true into your mind. So it's a spiritual path. Ultimately, that will allow you to live happily, peacefully, and lovingly. And all of that I call miraculously, or being in flow in the world, and ultimately escape this world entirely. So it's set at the highest level, saying this world isn't true reality. There is another world, there's another reality. But while you're here, you can live pretty happily, peacefully, and lovingly, with the ultimate intention of escape. You never need to come back. That escape is called enlightenment. So it sets at the highest level, but there's a very practical teaching, and that it can help you to live much more happily, peacefully, and lovingly in this world. which is why it's set in the domain of miracles, because miracles are about what happened in this world. It's not about revelation, which is something that transcends this world. Although you may have those experiences, it's set on this level, the level of the world. So some well-known students and teachers of the course. Marianne Williamson, I don't know if you're familiar with her. She was actually a presidential candidate a couple of years ago. She didn't win, needless to say. And she wrote a book years ago called The Return to Love, which Nelson Mandela must have read because he quoted from it. In his first speech when he came out of prison, he quoted from this book called The Return to Love. A lot of people think it was his quote, but it was actually Marianne Williamson's, based on her understanding of the course. That was what a return to love was about. So Nelson was influenced by those ideas, and I think we saw that in his the way he conducted himself. It was all about forgiveness, reconciliation, and it was an amazing man, amazing president. Sadly, he's no longer, and the current versions don't have the same mindset. Oprah Winfrey, so she is good friends with Marianne Williamson. Marianne's kind of a spiritual guru and teacher, as well as with people like Deepak Chopra, who studied the course, Wayne Dyer, in his latter years, got very much into the course. Eckhart Tolle, I've seen videos of him where he's quoting directly from the course, he's reading from it, and myself. I'm not famous like them, but I thought it was a good opportunity to just talk a little bit more about who I am. So that's me as a young, I was a squash player. I was in my late teens, early 20s. I decided to give up on, I did a business science finance degree. And I decided that I had this passion. I wanted to do it. It was like something that since a kid, since I was 12. So I want to be a professional squash player. So I was like, well, if I carry on down this track, I'm not. You can't really become a professional squash player at 25. Even 21 was sort of pushing it. But I was like, okay, these years are precious. I need to make best use of it. So I gave it all up, much to my father's horror, and chose to become a professional squash player. And that really led me to my first letting go experience. My first big letting go lesson in life was in my late 20s, when I realized that this dream I'd had, I wanted to be the world champion, because I'd read the likes of Napoleon Hill, What the Mind of Man Can Conceive and Believe It Can Achieve, and Tony Robbins, this whole personal growth industry. It's really saying that you are what you do, and that your worth is defined by what you do and what you achieve in life. So I was like, okay, well, then I need to be number one. There's no point in aiming for less than number one. But being number one in the world at anything is not easy. You've got to be better than everyone else, and everything's got to be right. You've got to be super talented. You've got to have the right kind of backing, the right finances, and a lot of that in my case was missing. I didn't have financial support from South Africa. We don't really have much funding for that kind of thing, and so I kind of reached my late 20s, and I realized, look, I'm actually just not going to do this. In fact, I'm so far away from this that it's a joke. I'm never going to do this. I had to kind of get real. But that was a wake-up call for me, because it made me realize that actually there was something beyond that. That had been what I'd lived for the last 15 years. And I had to let that goal go. And then it was kind of this strange emptiness. I was like, well, so what am I going to do with my life? It's like, okay, well, I enjoy playing squash. I carried on playing. And I started a business, and I kind of just got on with it. And I was like, actually, I'm quite a lot more peaceful than I was, because there's no longer that driving ambition. And then all the pressure that you put on yourself. Exactly. You put all this pressure on yourself. I mean, I remember, I'd lose a match, and I'd be losing to guys who are not even in the top 100 in the world. It's like, and I go, oh, the depression. I'm like, how are you ever going to do this? You want to be number one, and you just lost to this Palooka. He's like number 150 or whatever in the world. You're nowhere. And it was all very depressing. And I didn't realize, I was just really tormenting myself and making myself very unhappy. but I guess you have to go through these experiences to learn. So it was in my late 20s. I just kind of let that all go. And I then had to really start considering it, to say, well, maybe I haven't got the full picture. Maybe these books that I've read, and I'd read hundreds of them. I'd read like loads of, What the Mind of Man Can Conceive and Believe, Napoleon Hill, Tony Robbins, The Giant Within, blah, 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 like many of them, all pretty much saying the same thing, right? It's all about your mind, and your mind can manifest things, and you need to achieve things. And given that I did that, I really did that for, nearly 2 decades of my life, and it didn't work. Kind of makes you pause and back up and say, well, okay then. If this hasn't worked, then maybe there's something else. And that opened me up to something else, to sort of more spiritual way of looking at things. I read The Power of Now, which had just come out. I read Conversations with God. I read like whatever. I was like, wow, there's something else here. There's something amazing that was unfolding for me. And a couple of years later, I started to teach it, because I was like, well, actually, I understand quite a lot, and I like speaking about it, as you probably noticed. And so I have a kind of natural knack for teaching. So I started to teach it. I did the workshops and seminars. That's a retreat that I ran in Mozambique, which I did for a few years. And I ran workshops and seminars in Joburg and some in Durban and Cape Town. And I had a great time. Didn't make a lot of money, but I was learning. I was learning the whole time. It was like I was developing my own skills and my own knowledge. So I'm very glad I did it. And then in about 2012, 2013, I decided I needed a bit of a change. It was like I've been doing that for close on a decade. It was like, okay, so where am I going with this? And a friend of mine said, come over to London. He was starting a new business. He needed some help with raising capital, which is how I got into capital raising. And I was like, yeah, okay, that'll change things up. It's like, you need a change. So go and change it up, and who knows what will happen. And I met she wasn't my wife then, but she is now. That's my then fiance, she was at the time.
Okay.
In Oxford Street in London. And, it did change my life. I then moved to the UK. We had a son. So I changed careers. I changed because I went out of personal growth pretty much entirely. I needed to earn more of an income. So I started try to do corporate finance. That didn't work too well. So then I got into the card payment industry in the UK. Started a business doing that. I was also trying to sell corporate loans to small businesses. And at a point, it kind of got to, I was like, about 3 years ago, 2018, I was like, what am I doing? Like, is this really what I want to do with my life? And so I sat down with my wife, and we just kind of strategized and said, well, actually, what am I really good at? What do I really want to do? And I like teaching. These spiritual principles, are the thing that really brings meaning to my life. So I decided I need to change tack. And so I started on this Art of Letting Go program, formulated it, did a beta test, did the first Art of Letting Go course, which then caused me to reiterate it, did it again the next year. And it's now evolved into, it's a 1-year program. There's a course to start with, but there's a program which has brought me a lot of joy. I really do enjoy this. And sort of on the back end, I've got back into capital raising in hopefully a more sustainable way. I think that's sort of starting to work. So that was me teaching a breathwork workshop. That's me in sort of corporate mode, as corporate as I get. And then recently I did a Vipassana meditation retreat in Worcester, which is a 10-day silent retreat, which is amazing. So I continued to grow and develop myself, and who knows what's next. I'm trying to get back to the UK, but for now I'm stuck here. So I'm running this program, so it's allowed me to really spend a lot of time on developing this program to a standard that I'm happy with, and do things that I just wouldn't have been able to do in a family environment, which I'm grateful for. Although my wife and my son miss me, we separated. It's like, okay, well, everything happens for a reason. So,
Are they still in the UK?
yeah, they're in the UK. Yeah. So, and I can't get back at the moment. It's just I don't go into too much in my personal situation, but my visa application for a settlement visa got refused. So I've appealed, but it's in an appeal process. It's probably only going to happen sometime next year. So there's a backlog with COVID, and because of the COVID situation, we're on the red list.
Yeah.
So
You
I
can't even
get a
go
visit.
visit.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, then. Well, there's another letting go opportunity. Just surrender. I'm here. All right.
I thought you could go, but you just had to quarantine for 10 days.
Yeah, but you can't. They're not issuing the visitors visas.
Oh yeah.
You can go if you've got a, if you've got a British passport, or you've got a visa or settlement visa, but they're saying we don't want visitors from this, deadly infected country, because you're bringing the deadly variant of the virus or something. So it doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's where it is. So there's a bit of a digression, because I want to just talk to you about A Course in Miracles and what it's about. But to come back to these key benefits, the key benefits I talked about of letting go are the program benefits. Authentic happiness. You will know how to let go of any negative thoughts or emotions, no matter how challenging the situation, provoking them appears to be, and choose to be happy instead. That's the key skill. That's what this whole program is designed to teach you. It's not always easy to do, but you will know how, because I'm going to give you many, many different techniques to do it, and daily messages and breath breaks, meditations, recordings, live sessions. All of those are tools to help you to do this, to support you in it, because it's quite hard to do on your own. I'm not saying you can't do it, but most people usually look to for some kind of guidance and support if they're going on this kind of program. So, as an example, one of these guys, he's the older chap, not the younger one. He'd been doing this course, A Course in Miracles, for 27 years when he did the first Art of Letting Go course, about pretty much 3 years ago to the day. We're doing it in September of 2018. And his comment at the end of it was that I've learned more about the course, he mentioned, means the Course in Miracles, in the last 6 weeks than in the last 27 years of studying it, which was a great compliment. So I was under a bit of pressure. I'd only been studying the course for about half that time. At that point, I'd been studying for about 13 years. So I'm like, okay, this guy's like got double my experience, and he's doing my course. I need to be on my game here. But it's not really about how long you've been studying something. It's the depth of your understanding. And what I tend to do is when I do things, I do them pretty deep. I go deep into it. I don't just, like, if it's something I'm interested in, I'm like, okay, I want to master this. I don't just stay on the surface. So for 13 years, I've really gone deep into this teaching. Like every day I do a lesson. I've been reading the workbook for 15 years. I've read the text a number of times. Now I've done meditations on each lesson. So I've really immersed myself in it. And I think what happens then is you just start to get a deeper understanding. Like if you spend enough time with anything, you become a master of it. It's just like the law is apparently 10,000 hours. Spend 10,000 hours on any discipline or skill, you attain a level of mastery. Because it's just time. And I probably have easily put 10,000 hours into A Course in Miracles and related practices. And then he said that learning how to forgive truly was his key benefit that he got from the course. And this was his experience. So he had a major breakthrough on the last day. So it's a 6-week online program. The last day of his Art of Letting Go course after we did something called holotropic breathing, which I'll talk a little bit more about now, but it's another spiritual practice. And he did it, and then he did it again on his own the next morning, on the Saturday morning, because he did it on the Friday night. And he sent me this email in the late morning, where he said, well, this is my experience. This is what happened. He said, well, the context of it is he'd had some kind of grievance against his parents, which is kind of common. A lot of us do. And somehow he thought his mother should have been different. I'll just zoom in on that. He said, she was actually a brilliant woman. She was very bright. She got straight A's at school. She got a bursary to university. She taught high school English. She did book reviews. She had a weekly column in the main newspaper in the town where they lived, in what was then Rhodesia. But he wanted her to be something else. God only knows what. And then during the replay, he just started realizing all that kind of resentment and that ingratitude came up. That he hadn't acknowledged just how fortunate his life had been. And he had a catharsis. He broke down, and he just cried. And in that long moment, because he was able to really experience the pain of that ingratitude that he'd harbored for so long. He said this was something that had been going on for his entire life, and he was 80. He was able to forgive himself, and also to ask his parents for their forgiveness. As he says, I've been carrying this baggage around all my life at a huge cost. So there's a great example of what forgiveness really means. Ultimately, he was forgiving himself. He was letting go of those negative thoughts and emotions that he held himself in prison with for his entire life. And that was the course was just a catalyst for that. So it wasn't just the holotropic breathing. It was the entire process he'd been through that kind of was then the catalyst for that release or catharsis that he felt. So that's a very good example of a major forgiveness opportunity or lesson. Someone else, Debbie Fox, also of course was a group facilitator. She'd studied for many years. Said it helped her to see her subconscious patterns and stop her from doing things in her life that are good for her, like yoga, meditating, etc., spiritual practices. That revelation has been huge. I'm very grateful. Did your course give me a great deal to think about. Chichi said it makes forgiveness seem so simple. So I try and just break it down and make these processes really, really simple and straightforward. You learn these pretty simple techniques because it's not rocket science, but it's knowing what to do. No one teaches you how to forgive, do they? You don't go to school. They don't say, right, now we're going to have a lesson in forgiveness. They don't teach you that. And yet it's the one essential skill that you need to learn to be happy and in flow and find a sense of higher purpose and be healthy. And yet no one teaches it to us. So, we have to learn these things as adults. So that's the authentic happiness. Then key benefit number 2 is fulfilling flow in your daily life. So this is happiness in action. This is, okay, I'm feeling happy and I'm actually acting and I'm living this out, and I'm able to actually remain calm and poised. I'm able to enjoy my life moment by moment. I'm able to take positive, harmonious action to respond to any situation effectively. So you're dealing in the corporate world, no doubt, challenges arise on a daily basis. You're getting things happening. You're getting situations that you can get upset by, you can get triggered by. The art of this is to stay in flow, and you're able to take positive, harmonious action to respond to any situation effectively. And each situation is different, so there's no like one size fits all. But the idea is that your higher self, your intuition is going to guide you, but you need to be able to be calm and poised and peaceful in order to listen to that guidance. If you're all emotionally turbulated and there's a lot of fear and anger and upset going on, that gets blocked and you can't listen to that voice, and then you tend to take very dysfunctional, ineffective actions, which don't actually help the situation. They actually make it worse. You might have been down that road sometimes. If we act in a state of anger or fear, it's never a good outcome. Never works. So this, from a practical point of view, can make your working life so much more effective, so much better, and so much happier. No matter what. So you don't necessarily need to change your job. You just need to change how you perceive your job, and then how you behave. So another little case study, which is around flow. So my experience playing squash when I was, this was in my early 20s. I just turned professional. So basically, I'd let go of the whole corporate thing, because I'd said, right, I'm bailing out. I'd done a 4-year degree, but I wasn't going to continue with the graduate diploma in accounting that I was supposed to do and qualify as a chartered accountant. I was like, no, I'm going to play squash. So I suppose in my mind, I thought, well, I have to justify this, and I have to justify this decision by winning. And I have to beat everyone who's not a professional. This was kind of what the pressure that I put on myself. But squash is a game, like anything. It's not played on paper. It's played on a court, and irrespective of the fact, the apparent status that I now had, that I was professional, it can take years to really, improve your game. So I'd lost to this chap who was in my club. It was a local club called the Killarney Country Club, what used to be called the TAC in Joburg. I don't know if you know it. And
No, just know where Killarney is.
Yeah. It's there's a golf club and stuff. So there were two sides in the Johannesburg First League, the Transvaal First League, is then called. We had two sides in this, and he was my opposite number. So we had this club derby. It was like, big night. Everyone's there to look at the club. And I remember the whole day just really getting stressed about this, because it was like I was putting all this pressure on myself to beat the guy. And I'd lost to him previously. I'd lost quite badly to him, 3-love, in the club champs. So I was like, okay, I do not want to lose. It was like my whole ego's on the line. Everyone's going to be looking at me. So there's all this anxiety about the outcome, really, because I wanted to win. But I'd lost to him previously. And sort of late afternoon, when we're going for a walk, I was like, okay, I can't stand this anymore, because it was an evening match. I've got a couple of hours before I got to go to the match. So I need to do something. So I went for a walk with my sister. It was quite a nice afternoon. It's like, and we just had a chat, and it was just, in nature. We went to a park. And she said, well, why don't you just relax and enjoy it? I mean, that's why you started playing the game, which is true. And I started playing because I enjoyed it. But you sort of lose sight of that in the desperate desire to win and get the result. So that really resonated with me, but easier said than done. I was like, okay, well, something in me was just like, okay, just let go, blank your mind. Don't think at all. Don't think about anything. Don't think about your strategy. Don't think about how you're going to play. Don't think about the outcome. And I managed to bring my mind completely into the present moment. I didn't really realize at the time that was what I was doing, but that is what I was doing. And just not thinking, no thought. And because of all the fear that had kind of led up to that, and the contrast to that, I got on the court and I played the most amazing squash I've ever played in my life. It's just like, I wasn't playing. That's all I can say. It wasn't me playing. Eckhart Tolle describes it beautifully. He said, artistic creation, sports, dance, teaching, counseling, mastery in any field of endeavor implies that the thinking mind is either no longer involved at all, or at least is taking second place. A power and intelligence greater than you and yet one with you in essence takes over. And that's exactly what I felt. It's just like, this is just happening to me. And I'm just kind of observing. I'm doing it, but I'm not really doing it. It was a weird feeling, but it's very well described in this quote. So there's no decision-making process anymore. I wasn't having to make decisions. This just happened. Spontaneous right action happens, and you, quote, the little you, the self that was so fearful, am I going to win or lose, wasn't doing it at all. So he says mastery of life is the opposite of control. You become aligned with the greater consciousness. It acts, speaks, and does the works through you. That was absolutely my experience, which was it really was a life-changing experience, because I experienced what flow was firsthand. And I didn't really understand exactly what it was, but I think it caused me to really dive more deeply into these principles. Like, I really want to understand what happened there. And I want to pursue this. I want to actually dedicate my life to this psychology of peak performance. It was also how I was going to achieve I still had the ego's goal of becoming world champion. So it was like, well, this is how I'm going to do it. It's through this kind of thinking. I wasn't wrong. It led me down a track which I didn't anticipate. It actually led me into a kind of spiritual awakening, which was not the intention when I started, doing all of this. I wanted the ego's goal of being a world champion. But so often, these things happen for us. It doesn't happen as you planned it, but it's actually happening for your greater good and your higher benefit. And in hindsight, I'm very glad I didn't become world champion, because I probably would have been very egoic and very attached to that ego identity of, well, I'm the best in the world, and probably not a very nice person, actually, quite arrogant. And so instead I got humbled, and it took me in an entirely different direction in my life, which is why I'm here now speaking to you. And I try and help other people with these principles that I've learned. And so the key benefit number 3 is higher purpose. So we've done the flow, authentic happiness, higher purpose, fulfilling flow, higher purpose is the third one. So you'll start experiencing more happiness and flow in every aspect of your life, and find higher purpose and meaning in all your daily activities. So it's not something out there. It's not, oh, I need some grand purpose. I need to go and win Wimbledon or climb Everest, or no, I just need to do what I'm doing. But I find that there's a sense of happiness in it. There's an underlying peace. There's a sense of flow in what I'm doing. And I actually find great satisfaction in it. And the process is its own reward. That's the idea of flow. So purpose comes out of your flow, and that gives a meaning to your life. If the meaning is always in the future, and it's about, well, what I'm going to achieve one day when, and then I'll be happy, that is not a sustainable philosophy. And there is no authentic higher purpose there, because when you get there, even if you achieve that, as the celebrities of the world are evidence to, then you're still not happy. You're not in that state of happiness. So this is moment by moment, day by day, you live this higher purpose. And maybe then you get inspired to do creative things with your energy. That inspiration can flow through. I've got all kinds of ideas around alternative currencies and free energy, and who knows? Then you can get it. You can get those inspirations, and a kind of a goal can develop. But you're happy in your daily life. You're happy in what you do. So whether those goals ever manifest or not doesn't really matter, because there's this underlying sense of happiness and flow, which gives you the purpose and the meaning. So another little case study, this is a chap called Wim, who did the first Art of Letting Go course 3 years ago. During the course, he had this experience where he was playing tennis, and he wanted to really win. He wanted to win. He had this outcome attachment. He got very frustrated with himself, as he describes here, because he wanted to win, and that irritation made him go completely out of flow. He started playing very badly, and he lost very badly. And he didn't have a very happy experience of it. So he shared this in one of the live sessions we did, and I showed him the principles of breathing, just breathing nice deep diaphragmatic breaths, as I did with you at the beginning of the session. And I also shared this experience that I just shared with you about the squash, which really resonated with him. And then he went back, he applied it, and the next week he had a completely different experience. He played the same guy, and he was just centered, he was calm, he breathed, he wasn't attached to the outcome, and he experienced a much happier experience. He felt peace while he was doing it, and he won, because the winning came out of the flow state that he was in. So I was in flow, I really enjoyed it, and I was at peace. I experienced God's pleasure in me. He's actually a chaplain in the army. So, and he's a Course in Miracles student. So that's the way he described it. There was this pleasure being experienced through him. And if you remember, part of the idea of flow is that it helps you to realize more of yourself, which is exactly what it did. He said, I learned that I can choose to let go of anger, which doesn't work, and be at peace instead. And that's going to work much better. So he learned more about himself, and he had a great experience just from applying these these spiritual principles. And, and there was this flow, there was this higher purpose, all bundled. He experienced flow and experienced a sense of higher purpose. And then ecstatic well-being is about experiencing this in every aspect of your life, happiness and flow, and living it, and experiencing these synchronicities, miracles, miraculous experiences and results, just like he described, like the one I described. These kinds of things can and should be happening regularly because they are a function of a higher state of consciousness. If you're in that state of mind, then these things tend to happen. So here's another little case study. This is a lady in her late 70s called Hazel, who did the second Art of Letting Go course I ran. And after one of the exercises, this is what she described. She actually described ecstasy. This is a feeling of expanding energy, radiating from our heart center, which I've never experienced before. Energy felt like pure love, which was exhilarating to the point of my being wide awake all night. What a stunning experience, which will stay with me for the rest of my life. So when I say ecstatic well-being, I'm not exaggerating. You can actually have these experiences. And even in your normal life, you can be in a state of relative ecstasy compared with how maybe you used to function. Really feeling good, really feeling healthy, really feeling inspired, enthusiastic. And then final case study, just wanted to share. This is a lady called Robin. Is now in her early 50s. She was in her late 40s. She's a working mother. She's got teenage kids. She's commuting now up and down from Joburg to Durban. So kind of similar to actually my situation, except she's still able to go and see her family every 2 weeks of every year. But 3 years ago, she wasn't in a particularly good space. She was very stressed. She did the course, and this was her feedback from it. She was totally satisfied with the value she got. She found that it really helped her, extremely helpful in helping her to find more happiness, flow, fulfillment, and purpose in her daily life. And her kind of key takeaway from the whole course was that she experienced a lot more peace, less anxiety. She started to sleep better. She got off painkillers. She's not taking painkillers anymore for stress headaches. That's permanent, by the way. 3 years later, she's still not taking any drugs. She's got better relationships with her children. She's not as frightened or worried. So it's a pretty all-encompassing life transformation from a 6-week course, which she's continued. She's still a member of the Art of Letting Go program. And this is what she had to say about, this video was recorded about 9 months after she finished the initial 6-week course. So I'll let her tell it in her own words.
Hi, my name's Robin. I did the course last year with Jonathan. I'd never heard of the course before. It was something entirely different to me, although I've been practicing meditation. I've been going to breathworks for some time, trying genuinely to find peace. I'm a mum, I work, I've got a normal busy life. I've been plagued with headaches, I've been plagued with sore necks and the normal problems that people have. I found that through the course and joining the online community, I found a group of like-minded people all exploring the course. The course is fundamentally different. At first, I thought it was all about religion, which it wasn't, although it is about God, and I do believe in God, and it made a great deal of sense in my life that the only thing is really that we concentrate on is God. It's about finding love. It's about being kinder to people. I still listen to the teachings every day. I've found that by listening to the teachings and following the book and reading, I have become more compassionate. I've become a nicer person. I feel less guilty. I feel that the world is a different place. I don't feel that the world is always a good place. It's not. But I believe that it impacts me less. I used to be traumatized by the world. I used to lie awake and worry about things that are happening and my children and my life and worry about my past and worry about the future. I found that I've achieved a sense of peace. And if nothing else, I'm really grateful to Jono and the people I met on the course, because that sense of peace has helped me to heal many parts of my life. I no longer have headaches. I used to suffer with headaches. I used to have terrible neck pain that I was on painkillers on all the time. And honestly, those things have gone away. I don't take painkillers for my neck, and I don't have headaches anymore. My relationships with my children are much better, and my relationship with myself is a lot better. So in all, it's taken a lot of the jagged edges off of life, and it's just made life more bearable. And if you think about it, we're probably going to be here for a long time. So if it continues to get more and more bearable, and as I say, each day I learn a new lesson, and it does make life a little bit different and a little bit better, and I see things a little bit more clearly. And that to me has been the biggest gift of the course.
Okay, so that was Robin's testimonial. As I said, about 8 months after she finished with the six week course, so it really did change her life. And I think that's a cliche that's used too often in this industry. You know, it's life changing. Yeah. But if it's, you know, a sustainable shift in thought and behavior, then it is life changing, and really has done that for it. It just put her on a different path. So she's continued on. She studied, you know, Course in Miracles. She's still in this program. She's too busy to join all the time. But there's I've got two kinds of members. They some people join regularly, the live sessions, which I recommend because there's a lot of value that comes in those. But others just do the recordings. So I send out a lot of recorded material because there's 2 live sessions a day, so people can listen to the recordings. There's an email. Anyway, let me get into. I'll tell you exactly how this all works. So just to summarize, these are the kind of key results, the key benefits. Authentic happiness. So you will know how to let go of any negative thoughts or emotions, no matter how challenging the situation, provoking them appears to be, and choose to be happy instead. I'm not saying it's always easy, but once you know this, the cat's out the bag. You know, okay, I know that I can let this go. I know how to do it, so I just need to choose to do it. And I'm not going to wallow in negativity anymore, because the part of your mind's thinking, but you know how to do this. You've trained for this. So that alone is life-changing, because then you just won't stay in a negative state for, you know, nearly as long as you may have previously. I'm not saying you won't experience negativity ever, but you get very good at acknowledging it, becoming aware of it, and then letting it go very quickly. So if you can drop it in a minute or two, that's way, way preferable to hanging on to that negative state for an hour or a day, or some people get stuck in this for weeks, months. You know, depression is you just got stuck in a negative state for months or years on end, and you can let it go. You don't need to continue with that negativity, but it's up to you to do that. So the second key benefit is that you'll actually do your daily activities and flow. So it's this idea of you are authentically happy, you're being happy, and you do your daily activities in the state of happy flow. Happiness is the foundation, then doing is the expression of the happiness in action. So you'll know how to remain poised and enjoy the moment while taking positive, harmonious action to respond to any situation effectively. Now that is hugely valuable. That skill in the corporate world is highly prized in any situation, but in business, this is emotional intelligence. These are skills that a lot of people don't have. So these are skills that people get sent on training courses to try and train them to do this, because this is what it comes down to. You can't train people for the specifics, but you can train them to stay in that state and then act appropriately and take guidance from something deeper within them. So you become just much, much more effective in whatever you're doing. And then benefits 3 and 4 are experiencing. So you be, you do, and then you experience fulfillment, higher purpose, and well-being. And you experience comes out of the being. So this is all in the right order. And what the ego is saying to you is it's trying to reverse it. It's saying, well, in order to be happy, you need to do something and you need to have something. So it's all inverted. This is laying the foundation where it should be. You are authentically happy just because you are. There's nothing external that you need in order to do that. Then you do your activities in flow, and then you have an experience. So be, do, have, or be, do, experience. Fulfillment, higher purpose, and well-being. So instead of going, well, something outside of me is going to give me the fulfillment, the higher purpose, and the well-being, the satisfaction I'm looking for, it's now inside out. It's coming because you are happy and you're in flow to start with. And you start experiencing this happiness and flow more and more in every aspect of your life, because you take it into every aspect of your life. There's nothing you're excluded from. Why would you want to not be happy and in flow in an area of your life? And you start living a much more meaningful, what I call extraordinary, ordinary life, where there's meaning and purpose in the very ordinary activities of your day because of how you're perceiving them. And that gives you and others miraculous experiences and results regularly. So this isn't just about you, the idea of contribution, higher service. You're going to help others through your example to experience the same, to experience more happiness, to be more in flow. You become more inspiring to people, you become a leader, because everyone wants this. But very few people know how to do this. Very few people know how to be happy and in flow and fulfilled and have a sense of higher purpose and well-being consistently in their lives. They don't get trained to do this. This kind of training is something you really have to have the self-discipline to do yourself, to seek out. So just wanted to show you, like, these are some of the components of what this program entails. There's a 6-week course, which I don't have time to go into now, but later on in the year, in November, December, I'll be doing a presentation just on the course, because we're not really in the 1-year program then. Everyone's going to be looking to next year. So if you want to know how that value is made up, I'd suggest joining another presentation. But really, it's just the 6-week course is an immersion experience into this program. So it's got all the elements of the program with some extra transformational exercises that we do. So it's a transformational course on its own. If you just did that course, it's going to have benefit, no doubt. But I didn't want to leave it there. Part of why I developed a 1-year program was too often what happens in these courses or workshops, seminars, retreats. You might have been on some of them. Have you been on any of these kinds of things?
No.
Okay. So typically what happens, you get kind of fired up. It's all good. You're like, wow, this is amazing. The weekend's gone or the week's gone. And then it's like, right, back to work, back to your normal life. And then there's no ongoing program. It's like, okay, well, so all of that stuff that I learned, how do I apply this on a daily basis? And most of these course creators, people who write books, they don't really do that. They don't think about that, or they don't put in place a program that helps people. Maybe, days gone by, the technology wasn't available. It wasn't as easy to transmit information, via things like WhatsApp and email. The Zoom is a revelation because you can actually meet live with people and they don't have to travel. So these kinds of things weren't available. But really what I wanted to do was create a 1-year program that took that initial 6-week kind of transformation people had, and then really help them to integrate it into their lives and say, okay, I'm going to live this way. This is a way of life that is going to be sustainable. That's not just a 6-week course and then I forget about it. This is the way I want to live, and to put in place a program where every day they'd be getting some kind of support, some kind of intervention to help them to do that. Tools and techniques and so on to help them. So there are daily live online meditations twice a day. We do a meditation in the afternoon. The session starts at about 1:30 South African time, but the meditation usually starts at about 2:30. So if you just wanted to join the meditation, you log in at 2:30. It's a 20-minute meditation, and I guide you through it. In the evening sessions, again, we do some discussion, and then there's a meditation to end off, which is a nice way to kind of prepare for bed, which the meditation is the last part of it, which typically happens like around 10 o'clock or something. So there's a lot of hours of live meditation. Don't quote me on 200, there's 270 days apart from the 6-week course in the program. And if you value that at £10 an hour, which is what online sessions are kind of going for, there's a lot of value in that. If you're doing those meditations, there's live online discussion sessions as well. So using Zoom, people come in, we discuss this profound teaching, take turns to read the text, then discuss it, ask questions. So there's a lot of learning that happens in that. It's basically guiding people into a much deeper understanding than they would be able to get on their own. Recorded meditations, breath breaks, and discussions. So all of this stuff's recorded. If I do a live session, I record it, and it's available on Facebook, in a Facebook group. And most people just will listen to it on the WhatsApp, because instantly, like once I've finished the session, send those recordings, and they're there as a podcast on your phone, and you can listen to it. And I tend to split it up into, well, there's a discussion section, and then there's a meditation section. So if you don't want to listen to the whole recording, you can just listen to the 20-minute meditation. And I also send you recordings up front in the day. So you've been getting the WhatsApp messages. Those little breath breaks that I send, that's just a taste. If you're a member, you get more. There's usually a couple of breath breaks that are shorter, and then a longer meditation, sometimes 2 meditations in the day. So you can listen to those recordings, you can join the live sessions, you can use a combination of them. The idea is it supports you in a practice of regular meditation and breath work, so that you're doing those key spiritual practices regularly, because that's what starts to shift and change your mind. So access to a Facebook group, so there's a lot of past recordings are posted in there. There's hundreds of hours of material. If you want to go back into that, mostly people just do it day by day. Whatever I'm sending out in the day, that's what they're going to look at. But I do send some recordings in email messages. So if you can't make the live session, there's a recording that you can listen to, or you can listen to the recording of the live session on WhatsApp. Comes immediately after the session. Several daily WhatsApp messages. So I tend to send the morning ones, which is one sequence of messages, and then an evening one to top up with the rest of the audio recordings that come in the day. So after the lunchtime session, you get 2 or 3 audio recordings of that, and in the evening you get the audio recordings as well. So some people just do the recordings. Some people like that. Others like the live sessions. I'd recommend trying the live sessions, because that's where a lot of the energy gets transmitted. It's interactive, so you can ask questions. There's an energy that you don't get in a recording. You just can't. So I'd recommend, if you're going to give this a go, try and do as many live sessions as you can, and see if that works for you. See how that can work for you. See how it can integrate into your life. So it's something that just becomes a part of your daily routine. That's really the idea of this program. So you can see I think there's a lot of value. I've put £13,000. I've shown you how I can go into more detail. I've shown you how that's all broken down. If you were in charging for these things individually, that's probably what it would come to, which I understand is not really going to be affordable for most people. So I've just discounted it massively, so that it does become affordable. It's either £297 or 5,970 Rand for the entire year. Some programs go for that in a weekend. You'll pay that. Most sort of weekend courses go for that kind of price. This is an entire year. So I've tried to really make it as valuable, give as much value as possible. Or you can just do monthly, so 500 Rand a month with a 3-week free trial. So if you'd like to jump into it, give it a try. Give it a try. You've got full access to all of it. I'll sign you up to another WhatsApp group and an email list, and you can join the live sessions. There's many of them happening in that 3 weeks, and see if it works for you. And if it works for you and you like to continue after 3 weeks, great. If not, no hard feelings. You've tried it and it didn't work, and hopefully something will stick from that experience. So what might stop you? Let me just have a look, see where we are. So just in terms of the course programs and dates, the next course will be from Sunday the 23rd of January to Sunday the 6th of March. So that's really the start of this of a 1-year program. We're going to start it again in January next year. But if you want to jump in now, you don't want to wait till then you can start this Sunday. Do a session on Sunday. You can jump into it. I'll sign you up to the program, and we're currently 105 lessons into the program. So you just jump in wherever you're getting some of the material anyway on the WhatsApp message, but you'll get an email as well, and you'll get more recordings, and you can access all the live sessions. You decide to jump into the program now, or if you prefer, you can wait until next year. But next year, the cost of the course is 1970. So because it's more intensive to run, there's more live sessions. If you join as a member now and you continue as a member, then it's just a monthly subscription. So actually, you get the course at a greatly discounted price if you come in now. And then those are the times. So there's these live online sessions, live online meditation and discussion sessions, Monday to Friday, 1:30 SA time. After October, when the UK changes its time, we'll make it 2:30 because clocks go back an hour. So we're 2 hours away, and I've got to choose one time zone to fix it on. So I'm going to fix it on UK time. So it'll be 2:30 p.m. From end of October, and then in the evening sessions starting at 8:30 or 9:30. So you can join either or both of those. If the evening doesn't work for you, you can join afternoon. You can join both as a full member. You've got access to all of those as well as the recording. So all those sessions would come on WhatsApp immediately after they're finished. So weekday sessions last 20 to 45 minutes, and the evening sessions hour to 90 minutes, sometimes longer. Just depends on what we've got to discuss. But if you just want to join for the meditations, those happen at a certain time. Oh, someone's joined us. Who is that? Let's have a look. Oh, okay. Oh, he's disappeared. There's someone else who I think I just connected with him on LinkedIn. Let's see if he arrives back in. Well, no, actually, it's kind of worked tonight because none of the people who part of the program joined, so we had more time. Because normally it would have started at 8:30. And then there's these live 2-hour meditation and discussion sessions on Sundays at same time, 1:30 at the moment, 1:30 p.m. So that's a couple of hours, 2 to 2.5 hours. So there's a lot of material if you want to dive into it. You don't have to do it all. So a lot of people might go, well, I can't do this all. But the idea is to work with all the tools that I've given you and just find a way that works for you. So you might say, well, I don't have the time. I'd recommend just cutting down on TV time. If you watch TV in the evening, go to bed an hour earlier so you can get up an hour earlier to meditate in the morning. I give you a meditation you can do every morning, and just trying to integrate these other key spiritual practices into your daily routine to make you more effective and productive. So, for instance, you can take breath breaks when you need a break from work. You can listen to the discussion sessions while you're doing other activities, such as driving, eating, cooking, walking, etc. You can have the podcast playing on your phone and just be listening. So you can use a lot of that sort of dead time in terms of learning for this program. Okay, you might say you're not ready for it yet. Well, if you're over 30, before 30, I might say, okay, maybe you need to experience a bit more in life. Maybe you need to work out for yourself that this, whatever the thought system that you had, isn't really working for you. But I think by the time we got to 30, everyone starts to kind of go, okay, this, I'm experiencing some challenges in life. It's not kind of working. So then it's about, well, am I going to take responsibility for my own happiness, flow, fulfillment, my own purpose, my own success, or not? Because no one's going to do this for me. 30 years pass very quickly. I have a sister who's been trying to write a book for 30 years, I kid you not, and she still hasn't done it. I'm hoping she'll finally break through that self-created barrier. But it's interesting because it's just you reflect on it. I remember I was in my teens and she was in her early 20s when she was saying she wants to write it. Now I'm in my late 40s, she's in her 50s. I mean, where did 30 years go? It just disappears. So a decade goes very quickly if you're not doing what you should be doing. That time can just pass you by. And so I'll give you all the tools and the support that you need to do it. It's a very comprehensive program with a lot of support, a lot of tools, which you can use as you choose to. The idea is to make this program your own by finding a way to integrate it into your life. So just a couple of quotes from the Course in Miracles, which I thought were relevant in this context. So he says in the introduction to A Course in Miracles, this is Jesus speaking. He says, this is a Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. So he's saying, look, the course is not up to you. There's a curriculum, because the truth is true. It's only up to you when you decide you want to take this. That's your free will choice. You can choose to take it now. You can wait. You can delay. You can take it another time. You can do the way of the cross. Just wait until life kind of really puts you on your knees, and then you take it. But at some point, we're all going to take this course. So maybe the time has come now for you. And although it's Christian in statement, so it uses Christian terms, it deals with universal spiritual themes. So he says it's but one version of the universal curriculum. Right? Every great spiritual teaching and tradition, ultimately every religion, is based on these spiritual principles. And there are many others, this one differing from them only in its form. They all lead to God. And we'll talk much more about what God really is, because it's not often what people think it is. They all lead to this to God in the end. So hopefully that motivates you to say, well, yes, I'm ready. If not now, then when? I can't afford this. Financial might be a factor. Well, I just say it's your happiness, your flow, fulfillment, purpose, well-being, and it's your life. So if you don't invest in yourself, your higher self, and your life, what you're really saying is that you're not worth it, which is kind of the whole problem. The lack of self-worth is the fundamental problem. So if you devalue yourself in that way, then it's very difficult to help you. I've actually tried doing this free of charge. I've tried various models. And then what I found is the people who pay for it value it. if you pay something for it, then you value it and you pay attention. So what you're really saying by paying for the course is that you're telling yourself, your higher self, that you're worthy of all of it. And that's an essential part of the whole transformation process. And it ensures that you value and you pay attention to what you're learning. So, however, you get a free trial voucher. So this 3-week free trial entitles you to do the 3 weeks of the program, see if it works for you with no risk. Or if you want to commit, you just get a money back guarantee. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. Most people tend to do a 3-week free trial if they're jumping into the program. And then, you know, if it resonates with them, they'll then decide to join. If you paid anything and you're not happy, the first 3 weeks, you'll get a full refund. I want you to be happy. I've only done that once. There was a lady called Rishma who actually wanted to do a course. She was reading A Course in Miracles at the time. She wanted to do it as a self-study course, which we kind of figured out 3 weeks into it. She'd paid up front. So this isn't really for me because I want to just read it at my own pace. Like, okay, well then a facilitated guided program isn't really going to be for you. So you can do it as a self-study course, but in my experience, most people don't. They tend to get much better benefit if they do it as a facilitated guided program. So you can do the first 3 weeks free, and I'll give you a whole lot of tools free. You get a Letting Go meditation power pack, which is valued at £10. You get the course manual, which is valued at £20. You get 3 months access to the Facebook group. There's a whole lot of recordings in there. All of that's part of that free 3-week trial. So to conclude, I just say, well, can you afford not to do this? I mean, you came here because you're looking for a shift, you're looking for a change. There's an opportunity to do that. There's a program that can help you. And ultimately, it's your life, your happiness, flow, higher purpose, well-being, and ability to thrive in life. So coming back to the promise, it's about thriving even in tough times, even in adversity. If you can experience all of these things, you can really use the adversity to thrive. So that's why I said thrive through adversity. And I think, you know, that's the opportunity in these times. It's like, okay, it's not ideal, situation's tough, it's difficult, experiencing challenges, but that calls you to another level. You've got to learn, you've got to grow. And what's the alternative? You just stay the same, keep doing the same thing, getting the same results, not being happy. How long are you going to be stuck in that for? Some people get stuck in it for years. My sister, she just got retrenched, but she was stuck in a dead-end job. She wasn't enjoying it at all for 11 years. So 11 years of her life gone. And it took its toll on her health and well-being. She's just sort of coming out of that and trying to recover. So as Yuval Noah Harari, he's written a number of books, but he wrote 21 Lessons for the 21st Century and Sapiens. And he was interviewed, and I took this directly out of an interview on YouTube. He said the best investment is in emotional intelligence and in mental balance and these kinds of skills of how to keep changing throughout your life. You should keep in mind that much of what I'm learning might be irrelevant in 20 or 30 years. So whatever else I'm doing, I should also invest in developing my emotional intelligence, my mental balance, my ability to keep changing and learning and reinventing throughout my life. So to give a metaphor, in the past, education was like building a stone house, very deep foundations. Now education is like constructing a tent that you can fold up and move to another location very quickly and easily. So it's these kinds of transportable skills. Emotional intelligence, beauty of it is most of it's happening online through your mobile phones. Wherever you go, you've got breath breaks, you've got recordings with you, you've got the tools. Wherever you go, you take them with you. And it's about learning these new kinds of skills, which we don't get taught in formal education, unfortunately. And then just to finish off with this quote I mentioned from Marianne Williamson, this is what Nelson Mandela quoted: "Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We're all meant to shine, as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. And it's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others, which is a great statement of higher purpose. If you can live in this way, then happiness and higher purpose are yours. And I repeat this quote to myself every day. It's one of the mantras I live by. So I hope that's inspired you. There's just a little summary of some of the options. I can go into more detail on this, but if you just want to do a single 1 year, it's 5970. The mastery course, which is the Art of Letting Go course, that's going to start in January next year, which is really the first 6 weeks of the 1 year program, is 1970. And you can do either of these. You can do it on a 3-week free trial. So if you want to dive in and do it, you can do it for 3 weeks. And if it doesn't work for you, no hard feelings, you gave it a go. But hopefully it will, and hopefully it can help you change your life. And that is it in a nutshell. Sorry, I skipped a slide there somehow. Journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So, what I'd say, Chantal, is do something. Take an action, because it's very easy to come to a presentation like this and go, okay, that was nice, it was interesting, and then nothing happens. If you don't do anything, nothing happens. It was interesting information, and days, weeks go by, and nothing's really shifted. So, take some action, and that might mean for you, you just decide to dive in now. Say, okay, I'll start. I'll start on the 3-week free trial on Sunday, and just give this a go. And just see. I'll try and participate as much as I can. Do the meditations. Join the live sessions. Something's going to change if you do that. If you want to wait, then wait until January. It's not that long away. It's what are we, sort of end of January, 23rd of January. So about 4 months. Okay, so it's a third of a year, but maybe that's the timing will be more appropriate. But do something, take some action from this, and that what I've seen is if you take any action, you take the first step, then the next one unfolds, and the next one unfolds, and then you're on a journey. But if you never take a step, then nothing ever happens. It doesn't shift or change. So think about it. Let me know now or later by text or email that you want to join the program on a 3-week free trial. And I just add you to the mailing list and the WhatsApp groups, and I'll invite you to join the Facebook group. So that's what you can do immediately. If you want to wait until next year, that's fine. Then I'd suggest you do. I'll run another masterclass in December, where I'll talk about the course. You've got an idea of what it is, but I'll go into specific details to what that 6-week course entails. So then join that, and please give me some feedback. It's always good to get feedback, and you can register for the course online at that URL. Give us feedback on online. So I'll send you that as well as your free bonuses, because you've stayed till the end. Thank you. Really appreciate that. It's been a couple of hours, but hopefully a couple of hours well spent. So
Thanks, Jono.
yeah, sure. So any thoughts on it?
It was just a lot of information to take in. So I just need to sit with it, I think.
Yeah.
My life's I know it's like you say it's not an excuse, but like my life's busy and like I haven't even finished work that I had to finish today. So like I know you say time is not an excuse, but yeah, I'm just under a lot of time pressure at the moment with work.
Well, I think it's to try and just fit it in. So, if you can do what I've found with meditation is it actually creates more time because you're calmer, you're more effective, you're more productive when you're working. So by giving yourself those, those rests, you then, it's like you pulse your energy. So research has shown peak performers in any area of life, they don't go always on. You can't perform at your peak all the time. It's impossible. So they learn how to pulse their energy. They're on and then they're off. So they know how to rest, they recover. However they do that, they might go for a walk, they might meditate, they might power nap. There's many ways of doing it. They might do yoga. These, what you would call spiritual practices, are resting, and then they go. But when they go like they all in. They fully into the activity, and they can give 100% attention and focus, and so they're more effective than people who are not able to pulse their energy in that way. And then they rest. They're like, okay, I can do this for a few hours, then I rest. So I take some time out, I rest, and then I go back to it. And they actually create more time that way because they're more effective and more productive in the time that they work, so they get more done. And this strange kind of miraculous synchronicity starts to work for you. So instead of like you're in a stuck state and you're getting frustrated and you're getting irritated and then just more of the same happens, you actually find that these synchronicities and these miracles can start to really come in to help you in your daily life. You need some information and it pops into your inbox. Someone phones you, or you're working on a project and you just get exactly what you need to help you with that kind of thing. So it's a phase shift, but how else are you going to do it if you don't take some time to do this kind of thing? Then nothing changes, because you have to put in some time. Just the theory, okay, I get that, but I'm going to carry on living my life exactly in the same way is not going to work. You actually have to change the routine, so change what you're doing, and that starts to change your mindset, that starts to change your energy, and that's how you change your life, because your mindset and your underlying energy are what create the so-called reality of your life. And these kinds of practices do that if you spend the time. So I put together a program that gives you the guidance, the support, and it's happening all the time, so that it's there running in the background of your life, and you can use it. You can use it as and when, and find a way to integrate it. So go, okay, I can actually do this. I can take some time in the morning to meditate. I can take some time out at lunch, and that can, even if you do an hour a day, that is much better than doing nothing every day. So I encourage you to give it a try, and just see if you can make this work for you in the next 3 weeks. I will upload this presentation to YouTube shortly, so I'll send you the link. And in fact, I didn't stream it live, but it doesn't matter. I'll just upload it. So you can go and you can review it and watch it again, and go to parts of it. As you said, there is a lot of information, but instead of going, oh well, I'm overwhelmed, I just say dive in. Just go, all right, I'll just dive in. I'll start and I'll take it day by day, and like, okay, if I can join a live session, I will. If I can do a meditation in the morning, I will. I send you all this stuff. So just start practicing, and you'll start to see the benefits. If you do it for a couple of days, you'll start to feel different, think differently, and then it becomes a self-rewarding process. Well, this is working. Okay, so maybe I should carry on, because it's working for me, and something's changing, something's shifting. So think about it, and let me know if you want to. Generally, I start people off on Sunday, you're welcome to join the Sunday session if you're not sure. We do a Sunday session. In fact, this one is mostly they're online, but this one we're going to be meeting at a place in the house in Morningside. So you're welcome to come through and in person and join us. Lovely kind of old farmhouse in the heart of Santon, but you should feel like you're in the country. So we'll, hopefully the weather's good. We'll sit outside in the garden. So if you like, I'll send you that information if you'd like to join it.
Sunday will be out of the question for me because my sister's birthday.
Oh, right. Okay. So that's not going to work. So yeah, well, think about it, and you're welcome to join any of the sessions that I'm running on a daily basis, afternoon sessions. If you want to dive into any of those, I put the times and the logins on the WhatsApp. And if you've got any questions, let me know.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you for joining the session.
Cool.
And hope to see you soon. And I'll call tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, let's sort out the business stuff.
Business stuff, yeah. I'll call you around 4 o'clock if that's okay. Got a
that's fine.
Until about 4:15, and then I need to do yoga at 5. But I'll call you in between. There's about half an hour.
Okay.
Good. Okay.
Cool.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jono.
All right.
Cheers.
Have a nice
Bye.
evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye for now.